What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy D-Mark, aka D-Ron. So back with another video. So, Mick Foley is going to talk about his infamous Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker back in 1998 at King of the Ring. Y'all, if you don't know anything about that match or even else, if you have not even watched this match, go ahead and check that match out when you get a chance. Because this was the most craziest, and I mean the most craziest Hell in a Cell match of all time in wrestling history. So if you haven't already yet checked that match out, go check it out, that match with The Undertaker and Mankind at Hell in a Cell, 1998, King of the Ring. Make sure y'all check that out when you get a chance. So, before we get into all of this, if you haven't already yet, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already yet, follow me on social medias, turn on notifications, because I will be posting every single week. So, any further ado, let's get straight into this.
Your career would look like if you hadn't got thrown off Hell in a Cell. Man. That really, even though it wasn't the end of my career, put an exclamation point, and it gave me the moment. You know, there are football players who are known literally for one play. Basketball player. Willis Reed had a great career. He's known for playing 2 minutes in Game 7 with a injured ligament in his knee. Joe Montana's career, great quarterback, but it's the catch. I think they just called it the catch. And I don't know if I would have had one of those moments. Beating The Rock for the WWE title was a great moment for WWE and for me, but I'm not sure if that would be something that would be passed on to a next generation. And that's what stuns me about the Cell, is that half of the people who talk to me about it, and this is like where I don't write it down, but I would estimate half of the people that talk to me about that match were not born when it took place.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's even a story I'll mention from time to time, and I did it on the 20 Years of Hell tour, saying it was really powerful when my wife said, my kids wanted to watch the Cell match. I said, how do they even know about the Cell match? And she said, well, kids are talking about it in school. I said, in preschool? But it's something that parents have handed down, and it's the go-to for wrestling fans to show their non-fan friends who don't understand what it's about.
It is they're gonna talk about, their dad is a wrestler, so of course they're gonna find out, who their fucking dad is as Mankind. That's gonna talk about him and The Undertaker, the Hell in a Cell match that they're gonna do on this weekend of that year that happened. So of course they were gonna figure out to find out that was the match that they're gonna happen that weekend anyway. So of course they're gonna find out.
Definitive moment of when you're trying to argue against, don't you know wrestling's fake?
Yeah.
Do you have 15 seconds? Let me show you this.
Right. There's even those classic reaction videos on YouTube where they show it to someone. And I was really impressed by that, because I would go through and I'd be like, voice coach reacts to Ronnie James Dio, and I love the idea that you can change someone's mind, or at least make them question what they thought.
Well, the wild thing is, like, they see you get thrown off the cell, and then it's like, oh no, but just keep watching. He's not supposed to continue, tears himself away from everybody, climbs back on top.
Yeah. Well, I realized on this tour I'm doing that me not...
And the crazy thing about that, after The Undertaker threw him off the Hell in a Cell, about like 15 minutes or so, I'm spinning everywhere, but after like 15 to 20 minutes, like 20 minutes or so, like before the match even happened, as like people, like officials came out, put him on a stretcher, and the match was not even going to happen, but Mick, I don't know why he does what he does, but Mick just did not care about his body. He just got right up out of that the hospital, like on the stretcher, and he just climbed right back up to the cell and through the Hell in a Cell where the Undertaker choked him, and he just kept going. Like, Mick did not want to stop, man. He wants to keep going, man, and that is the reasons why Mick Foley is definitely a legend that he is today, man. But I appreciate Mick for everything that he's done for the wrestling and putting his body on the line each and every week, man. Mick is definitely one of the goals that I would consider putting him on that list.
Talking about the cell is like George Carlin not alluding to the 7 words you can't say on TV
Sure.
in his subsequent specials. As brilliant as he was, if I was watching, didn't at least allude to it, I didn't feel completely satisfied. And so I have like a 5-minute condensed version that I tell towards the end of these shows. And my favorite line, even though I think I did use it in the special, where I said, I climbed up that cell one more time, slowly. I'll grant you that was not a speedy journey. It was done with a peace of mind that can only come from knowing that the worst part of my evening was over. And then you get the big laugh from people, like I was like, that was my bad. It got worse. It got a lot worse. And it was that match just had so many surreal moments, like it just was. It's really strange. Even something simple like, not simple, but when I hit the table about imploded and spun my body so that, the lower half of me was sticking underneath the bicycle rack. We didn't have those cool, those cool barriers at the time. We just had the metal rack.
Yeah.
But just something like that where my feet and my half of my body sticking out into the audience, and then the EMTs who were not in on what we're going to do realized their gurney can't get around the structure. So somebody, and I don't think Undertaker knew, I don't think they yelled, hey, the cell's going to start raising up into the air. It starts rising towards the heavens with him on top of it, and it's just a series. It's like a series of unfortunate incidents for grown-ups or preschoolers,
What hurt more when you fell through the cell?
Yeah.
Was it the fall or was the chair landing on
Chair
your
to the face. Yeah. I stopped kidding myself. I stopped wearing the bottom flipper. And because my feeling is, I know it's not a good look. My son Huey broke it to me this way like 8 years ago. Dad, don't take this the wrong way. And first of all, no sentence ends well. This is
Right.
Don't take this the wrong way, but you still kind of cool with your top teeth missing. Now you look like a crack addict. I said, son, I believe you were thinking of a meth addict, but point well taken. Yeah. But my feeling is like, I know it's not a good look, but it's my look, and I earned it. You know what I mean? So I don't mind at all. And plus, Jay Lethal and Kurt Angle could attest for the fact that I would say it was more than an interrogation in Amsterdam, where apparently I was suspicious because these teeth, that one of them was knocked out, the other was knocked in, and chipped in half. But they started to put the.
And I think in that match, I think the teeth that ended up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm eating chips. I'm eating Doritos. But I think when the camera shows of, I think one of his teeth got knocked out, and then one of his teeth got like stuck in his nose. And I remember that happening, but yeah, I think one of his teeth got knocked out, and it instantly just went through his nose, and oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's really crazy.
The other tooth back in. Like when I got back from that match, it was in a glass of milk, Vital. And on the 20th anniversary of the cell, when I did my show in Pittsburgh, the dentist or orthodontist, whatever he was, who was on call, said he was there that night. They said, we've had an accident at the Civic Arena. And the first thing he asked me was, how long did they last? And he said, about 8 years. I was like, yeah. Then they started turning color. And you probably heard how people, guys in our business will say, well, I would do it, but would my character? And so my version of that is, I don't mind having gray and blue gnarly teeth, but would Santa have gray and gnarly? No. And so I pulled one out with I went to work with a ball peen hammer and a pair of pliers, to pull it out, because even though dentists will let children keep their teeth they lose, for adults it's considered medical waste. And I was like, no, I don't want to lose these. I want to make jewelry for my children. You took your own tooth out? I took one of them out, but I'll admit the other one was too tough. And then my son found a dentist who let me keep my tooth. So, yeah. But yeah, I got interrogated in Amsterdam. I mean, the way if you have Jay Lethal on, ask him. My memory is that guns were at the ready, and I finally was like, "Do you have a computer?" And they said, "Yeah, they speak English." I said, "Can you?" I told them to Google Mick Foley, Hell in a Cell.
See that thing in my nose there?
That's my tooth.
Yeah, that's my tooth.
Yeah.
What a story.
So you can tell, like, if this was 15 years ago, I probably would not want to talk about the cell. I had a love-hate relationship with it. And then as you get older, I think it's in the same way that Adam West accepted that he was Batman. That guys who feel like their career was pigeonholed because of an iconic role. Even Norman Bates, Anthony Perkins couldn't get work, outside of a few like knockoffs and sequels. but you come to appreciate it. And I realized, wow, this is even before I started to really doing the conventions. Like, I'm so lucky to have anything people remember me for after the fact, let alone, probably 2 or 3 things.
Boy, man. The only thing I'm not going to forget about Mick Foley is that how big that he was definitely a hardcore wrestler he was. That's like the only thing I'm not going to forget about Mick Foley when he's not here no more. Like, the guy did it all through the 80s and 90s, man. He just be going wild, man, especially with barbed wire, like the ring of barbed wires that happened back in the day, and I don't probably remember them, but I heard like stories of when like he ended up like losing his right ear, and I think what ended up happening is that his head, I don't know what he was trying to do, but his head got like stuck between the ropes, and then like the ref trying to unhook him from the ropes, and I think like his right ear, I believe, his right ear just got ripped off, as like he was like trying to get Mick off the ropes, and it just ripped his right ear off. I remember that story. If y'all know anything about that, man. But well, the only things I remember about Mick Foley's matches is that Mick Foley, especially with the Undertaker and Mankind, when like everything just started to just be so convoluted. It's like when you was as a kid back then, or even as like a teenager watching this back then, because all of this was like way before my time, like before I started to watch any of this. But Mankind was definitely the true legend of wrestling, especially in hardcore, with ECW, WWE, WWF at the time. He is going to be one of the goats. I think one of my favorite matches of Mick Foley is definitely the Mankind and Hell in a Cell. And in this interview, he definitely talks about, the match that he had to get Triple H at the Royal Rumble 2000 when he was as Cactus Jack, having all these 3 different characters in the same time. Mankind, Do Love, and Cactus Jack. I don't know how Mick Foley did it, but he can play all 3 different characters all at the same time. But there was an interview that he did talk about here that when Triple H did the pedigree on him, they was not supposed to have Triple H do the pedigree on him on the thumbtack, and then Vince says no, but they decided to do it anyway. So Mick said that he literally tried to turn his head and try to close his eye real tightly so none of those thumbtacks will get stuck in his eye. And I was just thinking of that because those thumbtacks on the sharp end of it is real pointy. So yeah, at least he talked about that in a different interview, but close his eyes so tightly, it kind of moved his head away so his face doesn't be stuck with thumbtacks in his face. But some of them did, but some of them not. So yeah, that would kind of be like a safe way to do it. But yeah, man, Mick Foley, man, he was a wild wrestler back then, man. That I will never forget what he has done in wrestling. Just putting his body on the line for our entertainment, and a lot of times that he just don't even get the credit that he deserves. But Mick Foley will always gonna be a real hardcore wrestler. And like I said in the beginning, y'all haven't watched that Mankind and The Undertaker match, Hell in a Cell. Go, please check that match out if you have already yet. Make sure y'all check it out when y'all get a chance to. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about this, and follow me on social media down below. I'll be back with another video. Peace.
Moment to shine. This is my type of flight. I've been grinding forever just for this very night. I've been pushing for many moments like this. This time it's undervalued and no one ever could.